Welcome to Laredo College Digital Connections. I'm Michael Gonzalez. Our intent with Digital Connections is to share with you the very latest news and information from Laredo College. On this edition of LCDC, we will discuss the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on our local economy and what measures are being utilized to aid in our recovery. The Laredo College Economic Development Center has assisted business and industry with training and education for many years in an effort to keep our local economy growing. One of the college's closest partners over those years has been the city of Laredo. So, to provide us some insight on the current status of our economy as well as our outlook for the future, we have on the program Mr. Teclo Garcia, Economic Development Director for the city of Laredo. Mr. Garcia, thanks for joining us on Digital Connections.
Thank you very much for having us, Michael. Thanks to you and the work you and your staff have done here at Laredo College, along with the leadership of Dr. Solis. We appreciate you guys, and we're so glad to have you all as partners, especially during this time.
Thank you. So my first question is, what have been the financial repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic in our local economy?
Well, as you know, Michael, the impact is very wide in scope. You know, we can talk about everything from our bridge crossings, which is revenue for the city, which provides money for public services like police and fire and streets and so forth. We are down on our international trade, our commercial traffic. We're down on regular vehicle traffic. Our pedestrian crossings are down 80%. As you know, our restaurants and bars and retail stores have been closed for many weeks. There's been a little bit of activity with retail to go and drive through and that kind of thing. But you look at our school districts, you look at how many people have been furloughed or laid off. So the impact is wide in scope, and it's obviously not just here, but throughout Texas and the country, and of course around the world, and for a lot of countries. So yeah, it's very wide. It's hit about every sector of the economy, from transportation to healthcare to wherever, and it's hurt a lot of people. It's had a lot of people unemployed, and we really don't know at this point how many folks or how many businesses are going to be able to recover. Although we hope for the best, we have to be prepared to understand that dynamic. But definitely the impact has been wide, very wide in scope in Laredo.
From an economic development standpoint, how long do you believe it will take for the city of Laredo to recover?
Yeah, I think we've had these conversations at City Hall and elsewhere, and some of the conversations you've been in on with Laredo EDC and other groups. Sometimes the question goes to the word recover. I mean, how can we get back to where we were at before? It could be months. It could be a couple of years. Just depends, what your business is, what you're trying to recover, and also what the state of the economy. And I'll give you one example. You look at let's say the logistics industry and one of our logistics warehouses. Well, and if they handle auto parts, the manufacturers and the auto manufacturers in Mexico are closed. 98% of our trade in Laredo is with Mexico, and about half of that is in the auto industry and auto content. Well, they're not producing in Mexico, and many of our factories in the U.S. are shut. So that means there's a lot less traffic crossing our bridges. So how long will it take that particular enterprise, that logistics warehouse, to open back up and get to where they were before? Oh man, who knows? It could be months before they get anywhere close to normal. So that means we may be missing a lot of the paychecks for the employees that are there who normally spend money in town and go to restaurants and stores. So there's a trickle-down effect from there. But it could be months, it could be longer to recover. The state of Texas is allowing folks to go back into business slowly and cautiously. 25% for restaurants, at 50% next week, and so if we do that, and then the fact that you have to sort of account for people's own concern and worry about health. Do they want to go out to eat? Do they want to go back to work? A lot of customer-facing positions are very difficult, to fill to where they were before, given what we know now about the coronavirus. So, again, like from my other question, we hope for the best and hope things can come back quickly. But we just have to keep at it and hope that they can come back to some semblance as soon as possible.
The Laredo College Economic Development Center works closely with the City of Laredo Economic Development Department. Are there any upcoming collaborative projects or initiatives in the works to help our local workforce with training or funding?
Yes, yes, there is, and let me also say that you have done a great job here at Laredo College, reaching out to our small business community with trainings and workshops or seminars, along with the Laredo Chamber of Commerce, also our Mile One group, Laredo EDC, and the city funds many of those groups, but that they really have done a great job on their own, reaching out to their constituents to try to help them as much as possible. We have some things in the works right now. We've been working hard to get funding from the federal government to try to help small businesses. In addition to the Small Business Administration's PPP loans and so forth, we're trying to put together our own programs in funding from the federal government through community development to try to help a certain amount of small businesses. We wouldn't have money to help everyone, but we think we can help a good amount, and that program we're developing as we speak. So expect to hear something from us soon on help for small businesses in terms of funding from the City of Laredo.
Compared to the situation at the state and national level, how is Laredo faring as far as our economic prospects and unemployment numbers?
There's a couple of ways to look at this, Michael, and one is that we do have a lot of people who are unemployed. The last count from the Texas Workforce Commission on April 25th was the last number that I saw, was from March 1st to April 25th. The Laredo area has about 12,500 people unemployed, right? About 2 months ago, that number was at about 3,500. So, we've added a lot of people to the unemployment rolls, and that number still doesn't account for, that 12,500 number still doesn't account for the people that have not been able to get through to file. So there's still another certain amount of people that number needs to be added to. So, and percentage-wise, we don't have an official number yet from the Texas Workforce Commission. We'll get it here in a couple of weeks. But March's number, March unemployment was at 5%, which was up 1.5% from the previous month of February. And with the numbers they're showing me now and how it's trending up, I would venture to guess that we'd be in double-digit unemployment, which we haven't seen in Laredo since the early 1990s. So that's a significant number of unemployed. Going back to your previous question, how soon can we recover? Well, for employment reasons, boy, we really hope we can recover soon because we need to get people back to work. And one other group I forgot to mention is the Small Business Development Center. We haven't necessarily partnered with them in a lot of ways, but they provide a valuable service, and they've been helping people with employment, small business questions. And then of course our friends at Workforce Solutions are also doing a great job, and they keep us informed of all the programs they're doing. So that's those are all good folks to help when you're trying to get people back to work.
Are there any particular industries at the local level that are doing relatively well financially despite the pandemic? If so, are any local jobs being created due to an increase in demand of certain goods or services?
Yeah, of course. Right now, our hospitals are doing well in a very sort of unfortunate way because they're caring for so many people. But everyone is hurting. The healthcare industry, especially doctors' offices who are trying to get back into the swing of things, they've been affected. Just about everyone's been affected. I will say that the government sector, for the most part, not everyone, but for the most part, has been able to keep folks employed, if not on the payroll. We haven't seen any sort of large furloughs or layoffs in the federal, state, or government or local government sectors. So that's important that paychecks keep being deposited and people are able to spend money on the economy and keep local businesses open. Which, by the way, we definitely push all the time for you to, as best as you feel most comfortable with, to support local businesses, especially local restaurants and stores. I think the retail sector has been hit very hard, Michael, and however, there are certain micro sectors within the retail that have added jobs, such as for delivery services. You have the food service that needs delivery. You have all these delivery services, anywhere from Uber to, you name it, right? They have been able to help small businesses and chain stores deliver their products. So there has been a little uptick there. You can even see the commercials on TV for it, but this still doesn't take the place of the jobs that we've lost.
Laredo has thousands of vibrant small businesses, most of which were somehow affected by the pandemic. What is the outlook for these businesses and the local economy in general?
Let's just say for small businesses, even without a pandemic, things are difficult. When you launch a business, through the Small Business Development Center that you used to work with for many years, the prospects of that small business succeeding on its own is very tough. So imagine if you throw in something like a pandemic and a lot of closures and government orders of all sorts, then the chances for success for a small business are extremely difficult to overcome. However, like I said, we're still hopeful. We have some very innovative and unique small businesses in Laredo. In addition to that, some of them, on a lighter note, have been able to get very creative and leverage social media, leverage internet tools at their disposal to become successful and find new ways to find revenue. So, my hat's off to those who are taking advantage of the situation to improve themselves, improve their business, and find new customers in our current economic situation. And so, if you go on Facebook and a lot of times you would see a business that had a Facebook presence and maybe they just thought they had to have a static page, are now leveraging that to have all sorts of online orders. So that's the best thing that they can do right now until we open. And of course, we're beginning to open slowly. But in the meantime, I think people have found a new way via social media.
Could you please talk about any state or federal funds that the city of Laredo has received in order to inject life into the local economy and to help local businesses?
Well, previously I just barely touched on it before, but there is a certain amount of general of funding that the city is receiving to help with mainly with our losses that we've had to sustain. For instance, the airport was issued $18 million to help with its losses. And for other projects, but of course, when you get federal money, especially when it involves the FAA, there's a lot of strings attached. So it's not simply that the airport has $18 million to go spend on anything that they want. So we're kind of going through all the rules and regulations to that funding. Our transit department received about $10 million from the federal government, extra also to help with the losses in revenue. A lot, our ridership is down more than 50%, and in a lot of cases more than that. So we have to make up for that revenue because our buses are still operating. So our community development has also received a few $1 million to help with housing and small businesses, and we're trying to figure out how to get that into people's hands as we speak. So those are some of the examples of the federal monies that we receive. We expect to receive more. We're asking for more. and we're told that maybe in the third or fourth round of the stimulus funding that cities might get a general check. So we'll have to see about that. But those are some of the examples, Michael, that we're trying to leverage to get into people's hands.
How can the general public support local businesses during these challenging times?
Well, hopefully, people have their, a favorite restaurant, a local restaurant or store, or maybe they have family that operate those businesses. Pick out the ones that you think you feel like you want to support or you feel safe going to. Now that restaurants are opening slowly, try to back up and support the ones that you want to support. But it's really important for you to be conscious of the choices that you're making. And I also say that it's not just about local businesses, although they're extremely important and we love them. A lot of chain restaurants or even small chains, locally operated chains that have more than one location, they're really important. There's people that own franchises that have a huge investment involved in that particular franchise, and they also hire people. So we understand that. So if you like your place, your steak place, your Mexican food place, taco place, coffee shop, whatever it is that you like, try to support as best as possible within your own means and how you feel comfortable. We don't want to try to tell you to do something that you don't want to do, but get out there and let's get Laredo going again.
For citizens who are temporarily out of a job due to the pandemic, are there any alternatives for temporary employment or work from home jobs that they can perform until the situation stabilizes?
Yeah, I mean, there's. I mean, I don't have a particular straight answer for that, but there's a lot of creative, outstanding people that have created different revenue streams for themselves, whether it be on the side, as you say, or a side hustle, or a part-time job, delivering pizzas or doing other services. But really, I think that folks have taken advantage of social media to try to find ways for work, for revenue, with all sorts of ideas. I mean, there's a lot of downtime involved. There's been a lot of government orders on stay-at-home orders or movement orders of all kinds. So people have been at home a lot. However, they've been able to get access to the internet and social media through their phone, laptop, iPad, or computer. And so there's been a lot of creativity online, regarding, creating their own businesses. You'd be surprised if you just go, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised if you go through, Facebook or Instagram to all the things that are services that are being sold or offered through there. But I don't have any particular answers to that, other than I know in Laredo people are very industrious and creative, and you sort of just have to look around to see what's possible. But there's no doubt that we have to reemphasize that things are tough, and we can appreciate everyone's patience through this and what they're going through. We're all going through it, and we just have to keep our eyes on the prize and try to get Laredo going again.
Considering past difficult economic times, what are some lessons to be learned about unexpected economic downturns?
They are unexpected often, right? I mean, you always have economists, put their charts up on the wall and they say the economy is going to go this way, and they never predict a downturn. It's always things are going to improve for like 10 straight years. But there are downturns. Most of them seemingly are unexpected, and so we just try to adjust as much as possible. What we've learned from the past is that on the government end, if government has to get involved and there's sort of very traumatic impact to the economy, say from 9/11 or the Great Recession, is if government is going to get involved, they need to get involved in a very big way, right away. And that's what you saw with the Small Business Administration's about $600 billion plus in small business loans. You saw in the checks handed out to the public, or even the $1,200 checks that were sent to most Americans, right? government had to get involved quickly in order to try to stem the deep fall for the economy. So that's one lesson learned. If the government's going to get involved, it needs to get involved big. I think it's also what we've learned from the past is that that these things tend sometimes last longer than we think. And so, for instance, everyone's tired of being at home. Everyone's tired of following the rules for the health rules for COVID in terms of wearing a mask and not being out and not gathering. And people are really frustrated by that. And we get it. I get it, right? But we have to stay with it until we're actually through this, until the evidence shows that we can do what we were able to do before. And that might take longer than what we want. These things don't resolve, these things don't resolve themselves when we want them to get resolved. They resolve when they get resolved. So I think America is getting better at it. I saw where several cities, especially in Texas, are beginning to, their numbers are beginning to flatten. And I think a couple of counties in Texas yesterday, a couple of the large ones had 0 new cases. So we're getting there, and we just have to wait until things get done. Unfortunately, it takes longer.
Besides the City of Laredo Economic Development Department and the Laredo College Economic Development Center, what are other free local nonprofit organizations that can be great resources for local business owners and professionals?
Well, there's always some sort of buy-in, but I think that a lot of the folks that a lot of our partners have been helping the public without any sort of fees during this COVID thing, such as our small business experts at Mile One. Laredo Chamber of Commerce has been doing webinars for free, not just for their members, but for anyone who wants to plug in. The Small Business Development Center, obviously at TAMU, helps dozens and dozens of small businesses per week. Of course, but they're appointment based. So those are some of the services that are out there. Main Street Laredo, which is downtown, also helps small businesses in downtown deal with the situation, and they're really helping just about anybody right now, not just their members. So those are some of the services out there. Of course, Laredo College, y'all have put on certain things here, and we hope to do more in the future. But I would also remind people that because of social media, the Facebooks and the Instagrams and Twitter and etc., there's so many resources online that are not necessarily in Laredo but available to you if you just look for them. And they're throughout Texas, throughout the country. People on YouTube also, people put all kind of hacks and webinars on there that could serve exactly what you're looking for, whether it's to deal with your business or a personal situation regarding COVID. Look for it. I'm sure it's out there. So those are some of the services, Michael, that I'd recommend for people to get to.
Mr. Garcia, thank you for providing us with this look into the state of our current economy and what the future may hold for our economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Many thanks to you and everyone within the city of Laredo for your continued partnership with Laredo College. We hope to accomplish big things together in the future.
Thank you, Michael, for having me here again. Thank you for the invite. Just want to remind everybody that we are trying to get Laredo back on track. Whatever you can do to support local businesses, please do. Stay safe, be healthy, follow the rules, but get out there and try to help businesses and be cognizant of those who may not have a job and are looking for one. Also, Michael, I want to thank again you and Dr. Solis and your board for y'all's leadership here at Laredo College, and we certainly look to working with you in the future.
Thank you. And that's all for this edition of Laredo College Digital Connections. I ask everyone to remember that together we are Laredo strong, we are Laredo College strong. See you next time.